In our last video, we looked at the sheer volume of games on Steam that are declaring AI use. In 2025, between 20 to 25% of games declared some use of generative AI. It's become normal, it's become ubiquitous, and it's across all types of genres. It's not concentrated in one particular type of game. In this second part, we're going to answer the real question. Does using AI hurt your work? Does it impact sales? Does putting that disclosure statement on your Steam page discourage people from buying your game? Don't get us wrong, this is a much more difficult question to answer. The factors that influence the purchase of a game are very complicated, and the data is incredibly noisy. Is a game failing just because it used AI? Or was it because of marketing? Was it because of the developer's own experience? Was it financial pressures? Was it whether they had a publisher or not? There are so many factors that can influence how many sales you end up receiving. Today, we're going to try and isolate the true effect of AI on the number of sales a game ultimately achieves. And we're going to do this using something called causal modeling. And the results, well, they're very important. Before we begin, because this is a very complicated analysis, let us define our terms. And there's a whole blog post on this, which goes into much more detail. And if you're interested in the specifics, we encourage you to go and read that. But for now, let's just cover the main, really important points. First of all, we looked at commercial games released between January and October 2025. That was the period we could get the best data on AI disclosure, and we defined commercial games because we didn't want to look at free-to-play games and games that could just not be comparable. For this analysis, we're imagining that you're a game developer releasing on Steam and you're interested in making a commercially successful project, something that's going to make money. As we've discussed before on our channel and on our blogs, you can't actually know the true number of sales that a game has received. What people in the industry do is they use reviews as a proxy for that. So that's exactly what we've done here. We're using the number of reviews that a game receives as a proxy for how many sales did they generate. None of this is perfect, of course, but it's industry standard and it's the best that we can do to try and drill down at this important question. The other major assumption that we make is that developers are actually declaring their AI use truthfully. Now, this is a Steam policy, and we hope that developers wouldn't risk losing access to their main marketplace simply because they don't want to disclose AI use. So therefore, we're moving ahead with this assumption, but we know it's not perfect. So what we end up with is around 10,000 games released between January and October 2025. And of those, we isolate a data set where about 18% have some AI disclosure. So the idea is that we can compare similar games that declared AI and did not declare AI. If we start by just looking at the raw numbers, things look bad immediately. The median number of reviews for a game without AI is about 7, whereas a game with AI use is about 4. That's nearly half. We also see lower review scores. Games using AI have a median positive rating of around 84% compared to 88% for non-AI games. So on the surface, AI games are selling less and they're liked less. But wait, we can't just look at these raw numbers and jump to conclusions. Correlation doesn't mean causation. Maybe AI use is just by inexperienced developers. Or maybe that AI is only being used by developers who are not backed by a publisher, and that's what's really driving down sales. There's so many factors that influence sales that the only way to really get to the core of this question of what is the impact of using AI, we have to use a statistical model that accounts for those other things. Essentially what we need to do is we need to separate the fact of using AI from all those other factors around the developer and ask the question independently, does using AI result in fewer reviews received and therefore fewer sales? To do that, we built a causal graph. Think of this as a map of our assumptions. We assume that things like publisher backing, developer experience, game genre, and the month of release all affect your sales and your likelihood of using AI. By using a statistical framework called do calculus, we can mathematically control for these factors. And that is exactly what we've done. We've created a statistical model that tries to control for all of these other assumptions. We wrote a blog all about this. It's in the description of this video. It goes into much more detail. But what you need to know is what we're essentially asking is that if we have two different developers, they're making the same type of game, they've got the same publisher backing, they've got the same experience, how does AI impact sales? And the result is damning. Our model suggests that that developer that uses AI could experience a 53% drop in sales compared to the developer that didn't use AI. Let me repeat that. All else being equal, declaring AI use is associated with cutting your potential audience in half. If you were destined to get 1,000 reviews, you might now only get 470. Now, I know what you're thinking. That is a huge claim. You're probably thinking, well, your model must be wrong. How can you really measure skill and experience? Your data must be incomplete. This is just crazy. A drop of half? That's such a huge impact. And there really are so many other factors that could be impacting sales that are just not in our causal graph, they're not in our statistical model. And you would be right to be skeptical. This is why in statistics we have something called sensitivity analysis. And we use this to test our results. And here are the results of our sensitivity analysis. This heat map tests how strong some hidden factor that we haven't measured, we're going to call it an X factor. How strong that hidden X factor would need to be to explain away the 53% drop that we've seen. This X factor could just be random luck, marketing efforts, studio resources, or financial pressure. But what we find is, for AI to actually have zero impact on sales, this hidden factor would need to be massive. It would need to make you 3 times more likely to use AI and simultaneously cause a 22% drop in sales on its own. This sensitivity analysis reveals 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, you are an inexperienced developer with no budget making a low quality game. In this case, our analysis shows that AI doesn't really hurt you. We all know that success on Steam is incredibly difficult, and the odds are stacked against you as it is. In this scenario, using AI is just a symptom of a much bigger issue. But scenario 2 is the dangerous one. If you are a skilled developer making a good game, this data suggests there is a real AI curse. Either players see the disclosure and they tune out, and you are being punished for using AI in your game, or there's something about using AI that degrades the experience for the player. Now, of course, there are exceptions. Games like The Finals or Suck Up, they use AI and they make millions of dollars. Why? Because in those games, AI isn't a shortcut, it's a feature. It's adding something new to the gameplay. But for the vast majority of games, AI is currently being used to cut costs and not to add value. And players can really smell that. They associate AI with slop, with shortcuts, and with cash grabs. Overall, our analysis leaves us confident that for those games that would have been successful anyway, using AI is having overall a negative impact. What causes that negative impact? That is a much bigger question, and we can't say for certain. It would be easy to jump to conclusions and just say that it's players that are fighting back against AI, they're rejecting AI, they see the disclosure and they decide they're not buying that game. But there's so many other factors that could be at play that we just don't think it's genuine to come to that conclusion. Using AI might be a symptom of a much wider issue. Let's think about it for a second. Why does a developer or a small team or a studio decide to use AI? Overall, the narrative seems to be that AI is being used due to social and economic pressures to cut costs, to drive efficiency, to try and drive up profit. We have yet to see a convincing example of the use of AI generating a better game than what would have already been built by talented engineers and artists. That doesn't exist yet. This makes you wonder whether the use of AI is simply correlated with other decisions that drive down the quality of the game, i.e. taking shortcuts. Speaking personally, as a data scientist and someone that's been working with statistical models and AI for nearly a decade now, I would assume that it's how you use AI that matters the most. I would hope that eventually AI ends up being a force for good, something that frees developers and artists from grunt work and administrative tasks so they can focus on truly creative processes, the things that really are human about building a game. But so far it seems AI is just being used to increase our workload, not decrease it. AI is being used to cut costs, to reduce teams, to put more pressure on something that's already incredibly difficult to do. And maybe that's the critical thing. Maybe it's not the use of AI that's driving the quality of the product down. Maybe it's forcing AI onto teams and cutting costs and cutting the team size that is then driving the product quality down. So what is our conclusion here? Should you avoid AI completely? Of course not. It's a very, very useful tool, but that's exactly what it is. It's a tool. If you were building a shed and someone handed you a hammer, would you refuse to use it? Of course not. Just don't go around hitting everything with it. Use AI with caution. Use it gently. It's not a replacement for hard work. It's just there to lighten the load.